Go ahead, Gautam.
Hello, good evening. Welcome back to Great Conversation and Talks, GCT Talks, episode number 16. We are here today with Mr. Siva Subramaniam from London, who's going to talk to us about how to land a tech job abroad. A warm welcome to all the audience and the speaker. Today we have Mr. Siva Subramaniam from our proud alumnus of GCT from the batch of IT 2006 to 2010, who was also the placement representative and the general secretary of Tamil Mandram during his college days. After college, he joined various other companies. He worked for various other companies in Bangalore, in Germany, and also today in the UK. And he has a keen interest in Tamil literature. That led him to start his own venture, Spark and Beyond, a few years ago, where he was the web development wing, leading the web development wing. One impressive project that he came up with was a Kural bot, world's first Tamil bot that can tell you Kural verses. And he is very keen on keen on students and mentoring them, and also contributing to open source Tamil projects. We welcome you, sir. Over to you for your session. Thank you.
Thank you, Gautam. Hello, good afternoon or good evening to everyone listening to this. First of all, thanks to GCT Alumni Association for providing me this opportunity. As you all know, my name is Siva. I am a GCT alumnus, 2006 to 2010 batch. Today, I'm going to talk about how to land a tech job abroad. So without further ado, let's jump into the topic. Right, so sorry, yeah. Right, so butterfly effect. So how many of you have known about butterfly effect? So Wikipedia says it's a phenomenon whereby, a very small change in a very big system happening, and then that can have a profound or a very big impact, in the system after some time. So I always relate to this theory with my life. I can 100% say that, this theory is definitely impacting everyone's life around here. So I'll give you an example. Let's say, I have got a good marks in my 12th standard, and I was the set who wrote entrance exams last in 2006. So I got good marks in entrance exam as well, and because of that, I landed in GCT, where I got many new friends. In fact, I even saw my wife there. So a lot of good things happened at GCT. But for a small moment, let me step back and think that, let's say I did my maths exam well, so that I scored 3 more marks. That would have impacted my final scores, and I would have got, let's say, a PSG or a MIT or even an NST. Or I'll take it the other way as well. Let's say, on a specific day of maths exam, maybe I became ill and then I didn't write the exam well. Because of that, I lost 10 marks. So maybe I would have taken some other college, maybe like Taharaja or other government engineering colleges. So it's the very small factor of having few difference in marks in my 12th standard maths exam or physics exam or whatever had a profound impact in my life after 10 years now. Because my life has been completely changed because I was in GCT. Same goes for any other thing. Let's say even in the human history, the current theory says humans immigrated from Africa. They traveled across the coast and they reached various places like Middle East and finally came to India. So if the set of humans that came initially, they were only a handful of humans immigrated from Africa. If for some reason some animal or even our cousin species like Neanderthals, if they had killed those handful of human beings, we would not have had many human beings in India right now, or maybe the Neanderthals would have won. So it's when you look at that point in history, a very small change, killing few humans by animals or Neanderthal species or whatever, would have a very profound impact thousands of years later. So this butterfly effect is playing in everyone's life. The life would have changed for everyone, for better or worse. It's up to us to construct our life, but still, this effect is still there. A small change in one of the variables in your life, would have a profound impact in your life a few years down the lane. You can take this exercise once this talk is over. You can think about that, and then you can see where your life would have pivoted if you change a very small variable in your life. Right. So that is butterfly effect. So why am I telling about butterfly effect in a talk that is going to talk about how to land a tech job abroad? So the reason is getting a job abroad is like one such pivot in your life. It could be like a very small thing that would have happened, like you would have worked in a company in India, maybe in Bangalore or Chennai or Pune, and then you got an opportunity to work abroad, and then you go there, and then your whole life, not only your life, the generations that come from you, like maybe your son or grandson, their whole life is changed because of this small effect, like moving abroad. So that is why I'm saying, like you have to be very conscious about these things that are like it might look like a very small pivot to you, but few years or few generations down the line, it would have had a very profound impact in your life. So that's why getting a job in abroad is very important. I'm not saying that working in India is bad, but it has its own pros, and the same way, like working abroad has also its own pros and cons. But definitely, like this will be a life-changing effect for you if you get a tech job abroad. And definitely, I'll be talking about all the pros and cons of working in India as well as working abroad, and then it's up to you to decide if you really want a job abroad, and if so, this talk might help you to achieve that. So yeah, we'll get into that. So before I get into that core topic, I would like to talk about a little bit about myself, so that at least you can connect with myself. How I came to talk about this topic, or how experienced I am in this topic. So I'll give a very short intro about myself. So I came from the place that is called Oxford of South India. So not many people know the city called Palayamkottai in Tirunelveli district is called Oxford of South India. It is a nickname given by the local people and some other people around the district as well. The reason is the city of Oxford in the United Kingdom has so many colleges, and they have like these colleges for the last 1,000 centuries or so. So Oxford is known for technical institutions. So in the same way, like Palayamkottai is also like very similar to that. So the reason is the city has like a lot of schools and colleges. In fact, some of the schools are like have been running for 100 or 150 years. In fact, I was an alumni of a school that has been running for last 130 years, and it is in Palayamkottai that South India's first women college was opened around 1850s. So like not only that, schools and colleges, you have a government engineering college, you have a government medical college, you have a government law college, you even have a government Siddha college. Like any profession that you want to do, you can find a place in Palayamkottai. So that's why it's called Oxford of South India, and I hail from that city. And my family is like a middle class family, though my father was having a stable job with the state government. Like our family was like a middle class family. Like we didn't have enough money always in any month in a year. So I studied in a government aided school till 10th standard, and I got some good marks in 10th standard. So I went into a private school for 11th and 12th with a scholarship, because my father could not afford for the private fees, but the school, because of my marks, granted me some scholarship. So I studied in the private school for 2 years, and then once I completed my 12th, though I was in the Oxford of South India, I wanted to go out of that because I wanted to live a life away from home. I wanted to experience that. How is it to live in a different city, away from parents? Can I manage myself, or like these sort of questions arose, and then I decided to move out of the city, and that's how I landed up in Coimbatore, GCT. Right. So during the 4 years in my college, like as it was mentioned in the intro, I was a placement representative. I was more interested in Tamil literature, so I joined Tamil Mandram, and by the time I came to final year, I was the secretary of the Tamil Mandram. running competitions running events like Sangamam and Muttamil Vila and other various events. And once once I did my college, I got campus placed in a company called Sapient, which is now called Publicis Sapient. It's in Bangalore. I joined as an associate developer, developing applications using C# language. So I was there in Sapient working for 1.5 years. And while I was working, I thought, maybe I could do something different. I always wanted to run a company and see if I can do that. So it's a sort of, entrepreneurial bug that bit me. So I decided, maybe now is the time to take risks in my life because I don't have any commitments. Because I was just out of college and working for like 1 year with Sapient, 1.5 years with Sapient. So I joined with my friends and started a company called Spark and Beyond, where we develop creative solutions to our clients. And I was leading the web development wing of that company. So the company was recognized as one of the fastest growing startups by IIT Guwahati during the year 2013, I guess. And we ran the company for close to 3 years, and we found out that it was not working out. So all of them, we said, we'll move, shut the company and move on. So that's what happened. So, but it gave me very good experience because during the 3 years, with very little experience, I was able to manage some of the projects that came along. Because as you know, I was only into the work for 1.5 years, and I don't have much exposure to all of the technologies. But still, we went ahead, took the projects. I studied overnight or prepared things, learned about new technologies, and then I delivered the project to the clients, learning on the job. So it gave me a lot of confidence. Though the entrepreneurial stint was a failure, the lessons that I got from that was very valuable. And then once I moved away from that, I worked in a company in Bangalore, and then I got married during that time. And in a few months into the marriage, my wife got an opportunity to move into United Kingdom. And at that point of time, that opportunity for her was bit up in the air. We don't know how long we are going to stay in United Kingdom, or we don't know how long the project is going to run for her. So it was a bit a very dicey situation. So I was also not able to, let's say, I don't want to lose my current job in Bangalore. And I was not confident of getting a job, going here as a dependent to my wife and get a job there, because the reason is we don't know how long the project is going to run. And I don't know if I can convince the company to work for a very short amount of time in United Kingdom. So I thought, maybe I can also try to get a job in United Kingdom from India. That was the idea that came to my mind. And I had no clue if there is a chance to do that. So I, looked into the internet, and then I saw what are the ways that I can somehow get a job in United Kingdom so that I can be with my wife and family. So I looked into that, and I looked into the visa regulations. I looked into the openings. I was into the IT sector, so I naturally wanted to do a job that is related to IT. And then I found out that getting a job in United Kingdom is quite tough. Part of the reason is there were the visa restrictions were quite tight at that time. And then another part of the reason was I was severely underprepared. I didn't have the necessary skills to crack the UK market. So then I decided, okay, I can't go to the UK now. So what should I do? Sorry. So the next bit was just like how you in the Varanamayaram story, Surya would tell his son that here is America and here is India. You go and get her. Just like that, I said if here is UK, then maybe I can somehow get a job in a country that is close to UK, so that at least I will be in a short distance within the reach of my wife and family. So then I looked into the internet, and then I saw there are a lot of opportunities in mainland Europe. Mainland Europe means Spain, Germany, France, Netherlands, and things like that. So from these places, United Kingdom is like an hour or a couple of hours flight, so that I can go to weekends. So that was my plan. So then I decided, I looked into the internet, and again, internet helped me a lot. And then I found out that the market in mainland Europe is not as tough as UK. So it is somehow easier than UK to get a job in mainland Europe. So then I started preparing to how to approach like an European company, and then I started applying for various companies, and not going to lie, I got a lot of rejections. So in fact, I would say like the rejection rate was like 9 out of 10. Like if I apply for 10 companies, 9 companies will simply reject me, outrightly reject me. But maybe one company will consider my resume. That was the state. So but it gave me a lot of learnings, because like every failure that came along my way, I thought maybe like okay, this company doesn't need me. Okay, let me think why they don't need me. Then I started to work towards my skill set and my resume, and then I changed few things. I built some things and published some things. I wrote few things, and then I slowly started building my profile. And then I started getting more calls from the companies in the mainland Europe. And my first I would say like my first flight travel outside of India was to attend an interview in Amsterdam, in Netherlands. So there are companies in Europe that will sponsor you to attend an interview from India. So that that was like quite shocking for me. Like I didn't know that such things exist. So the company sponsored my travel. They booked my 2 and 4 tickets. They booked a hotel for me, and then they booked a solid whole days of worth of interview. Meeting with various people, teams, and various rounds. So I attended that interview. It was sort of I did it was an okay interview in Amsterdam. So when I came back, they said like they thought that I was not a good fit for the company, and they rejected me. So that was again a failure. But this time I was in a better position, that like I knew what were my weakness. So again I started working towards that. I improved my profile, learned a lot of new things, built again again a new set of things. And then again an interview came in Germany, but this time the entire interview was very virtual. They didn't invite me to Germany, but things happened over Skype at the time, and they offered me a job. So I was really happy at the time, because I don't know, like such thing exists, like a person from India or like Tamil Nadu can apply to a company in Europe, get a visa sponsorship, and get a job. If somebody would have told me like few months before that, I would not have believed them. But I read that. I'm quite happy about that. So that's why I wanted to stand on top of the roof and tell this to everyone, that this is possible. Like if you want to get a job abroad, particularly a tech job, it is possible. So that's why I wanted wanted to give this talk. So I worked in Germany for some time, and then my wife's project got confirmed. So there came a decision that like either she needs to come to the UK, to Germany to to be my dependent and work, find a job in Germany. I was in Berlin, or I can go to UK, which is city is London, and be her dependent, and then search for a job. So we thought for her skill set, the number of jobs in Berlin were quite less. But whereas for my skill set, there were like a lot of job openings in the United Kingdom, because they don't want to sponsor me a visa because I was a dependent. So obviously, like there are a lot of jobs in the UK. So I decided to move to UK. So I resigned my job in Germany, went there, gave few interviews, because since I was prepared now, I was able to crack the interviews like better when I was in like few months back. So I landed in UK, and within 15 days I got 2 offers. So I was really happy with my progress there, because I had a lot of weaknesses and I had a lot of failures, but these things helped me along the way to like prepare for how to prepare for an interview and how to crack a job interview. So I landed in the UK, and then that company like offered me a visa sponsorship as well. So I switched to a main visa, like so that I don't want to be dependent of my wife's projects, because it can close anytime. So I got my own visa, and then right now I'm in the UK for the last 4 years now. I'm currently working as a senior software engineer for a company called Compare the Market. It is one of the leading customer-facing brands in the UK. They provide, they compare a lot of insurances here, and then they give you a best set of options for you. The brand is like quite popular in the UK, so I'm with them like for the last 2.5 years now. So that's my journey from a city called Oxford or South India to a city that is quite close to the real Oxford. Right. So So since you know about me, like, I'm going to tell you like my experiences, more importantly, like, the failures, because that's where you get to learn a lot about that. Right. So this talk, let's try to, destructure or get, take piece by piece from the topic and then analyze, and then we'll see like, how we can approach that. So this talk is mainly about tech job. Yes, you can still get a lot of other jobs in abroad. It is also possible you can get visa sponsorship as well, but this talk is only about tech job, because the reason is, I've been with the tech industry for the last 10 years, and this is where my specialty lies. But as I mentioned, like you can still get a other sort of jobs abroad as well. But getting a tech job is relatively easier when compared with other jobs. So when I say tech job, like what are the jobs that are like that can offer visa sponsorship to you? So the main thing is like developer. You have to be a software developer. If you're a software developer, it is quite easy to get a tech job uh, in foreign countries, because like the scarcity of good software engineers is quite huge. Even in the Indian market, it's the same case. Like, you might have seen a lot of memes and trolls in the social medias that says that if you're an engineer, you can never get a job. But that is clearly a lie. If you are a bad engineer, you can't get a job. That's true. But if you're a good engineer, definitely there is a need, and there are a lot of openings even in the Indian market today. That like if you're a good engineer, you can definitely get a job. So the same applies in for jobs abroad as well. So the main sort of job that offers a lot of visa sponsorship opportunities is the developer, software developer role. It is called in various ways in various countries. Some companies call it as associate developer role. Some companies call it as software engineer. Some companies call it as software developer. But ultimately, what you're going to do in that job is you sit down and you write code and build application. So that role is like is having a very hot demand across the globe. Companies are willing to pay, willing to sponsor visas for this role. And the next thing is automation tester. So while there is a role called testing, like there are two kind of testers. You can see. One is like manual testing, like where you test the applications manually, and the second set is like automation testers, where they write code to test the applications. So let's say you have a website. Let's say, for example, a website like Google. So one way of testing is you go there manually, enter few keywords, and then you can see like if the search results are right. The other way is you can automate the whole thing. You write a code. The code will automatically enter things in the Google search box. The code will automatically press enter, and then code will automatically analyze the results and tell you whether the site is still working or not. So there is a huge demand for automation testers across the globe again. So even in this role, you have to write code to test applications. And the third role is like architect. So architect is like someone who thinks high level, so who builds solutions, like who deals with a lot of high level decisions and things. But you have to be experienced to become an architect. I would say like you need at least a decade's experience to become a very good architect. And then you can get a job abroad using your experience. But yeah, these are the three main roles that are easier to get a job. So as I mentioned, like it is like these three roles take a major share of visa sponsorship jobs. But there are other roles like a program manager or a software engineering manager, and then there are like few other roles. But these roles, like you can find jobs that can also offer sponsorship, but they are like quite low at the moment. If your aim is to get abroad using tech, with a tech job, then I would prefer a developer or an automation tester role. And another important thing to note is most of these companies that offer visa sponsorship, they expect at least some experience from you. So if you're a fresher and if you want to go abroad, no, it's not possible using this route. But if you work, like let's say a 2-year or a 3-year in India, with a good company, and then you still have a very good skill set, then yeah, definitely you can crack in this market. But if you're a fresher and you still want to go abroad, I would say the only way is to go for higher studies. So you can do masters in either US or UK or Australia or Europe or whatever the place that you're interested in. You can apply to good universities there, and if they accept you, then you can go there, do your masters, and then get a job there. So the only drawback with this approach is if you're really interested in masters, yeah, you can definitely take that route. But if the only if you just want to go abroad to get some work experience, then this route might not be useful for you. The reason is, if you want to do a master's in abroad, then you have to shell out at least a minimum of 20 to 30 lakhs that you have to spend to get a degree from a good university abroad. So you have to you need to have a bank balance of that much, or you need to take a loan for that amount if you want to go abroad using that route. But this route is quite easier. You get some a couple of years experience, you have a very good profile, then you can apply to companies who can offer visa sponsorships. So yeah, and if you want to go for a specific role, I would suggest to take up one of either developer or an automation tester role, because they are quite easier to get a visa sponsorship. Though I say easier, I don't mean about the skills, but I mean about the number of job opportunities that gives you visa sponsorship for these roles. Right. So when I say this talk is about tech job in abroad. So let's destructure what is abroad. So there are 194 countries in the world right now, maybe one or two here and there, about plus or minus. But there are few destinations you can tell that as hot destinations for the tech job market. So obviously the first one is United States, and the second one is Canada, and then you can get a job in Australia, Singapore, Malaysia, and then in Europe. And within Europe, you see these are the list of countries that are having a lot of tech companies who are willing to sponsor you visas, like UK, Netherlands, Germany, Spain, France, Portugal, and then the Scandinavian countries like Norway, Sweden, and Portugal. Right. So these are the, I would say, if you want to concentrate on getting a job abroad, so you can start with these countries, and you can see, you can Google the pros and cons of each countries, the inflation each country, how much costlier is it to live in USA versus Canada versus UK, and then if you can take a decision, and then you can filter out from this list. But I would say if you want to start, you can start with the set of these countries, and then within this list, I would say getting a job in USA is very difficult at the moment, because the H-1B visa is it's like a diamond, I would say, it's very scarce. So the number of visa applications to get into USA is quite high every year. So you might not always crack that. So it is very tough if you want to target USA. But my advice would be there are equally good countries when compared with USA that not many people know, because everyone thinks that if you're going abroad, then you're going US. That's what everyone thinks, and then everyone thinks that US is the only place where you get a lot of opportunities. No, it's not wrong. It's not right. It's wrong. Sorry. There are a lot of good other countries that gives you a better lifestyle, a better pay, and then better social security things when compared with USA. For example, in all the European countries, medicine and education is completely free. You don't need to pay anything to go to a hospital here, or you don't need to pay anything to join your kid to a school. It's completely free. The taxes are a bit high in European countries, because obviously if the government is going to give you a high quality free education and medical facilities, then the taxes will be a bit high, but it will be in the range of 30 to 40 or 45%. US has very less tax rate in some states. Some even go as low as 20%. But in US, you need an insurance to cover your medical expenses. So there are these are the pros and cons of each and every country, that as I mentioned earlier, you need to weigh in and then check. But as I mentioned, USA is not only the dream destination. You have these many options. Canada. I would say, like, apart in this whole list, if I have to start all over again, and if I had the choice to pick from a country, then I would definitely pick one from either Canada or Europe, because, like, in both these places, the quality of life is better and the social, security things is quite better. So yeah, so these are the list of countries that you can try abroad. USA is like quite tough, but if you're really, really talented, yeah, you can still get USA. Uh, but as I mentioned, it's not the end of the world. You can still go to Canada or Australia or European countries, because within Europe, like, Europe is like, is like India. Like every 500 kilometers you travel, you land in a place that speaks different language, that has a different custom, that has different food and everything, just like India. And then there is a severe shortage of good engineers in Europe. So a lot of companies in Europe are willing to sponsor visas for a good candidate. They don't care about your nationality. You can be from India or any other country. As long as you have the skill, you can definitely get a job in Europe. So that's how the market is right now. Right. So we saw, like, the sort of tech jobs that can offer visa sponsorship, and we saw, like, what is abroad, the definition of abroad in this topic, the list of countries. Right. So how to prepare for this? So these things, come from my experience, because as I mentioned earlier, like, I faced a lot of rejections before, finally landing in a job in Europe. So the first thing in the list is you need some experience. I already briefly touched upon this topic. If you're a fresher, I'm sorry, it's really, really tough to get a job for a fresher unless you have invented something, or unless you have written an open source library that is used across the world. It is tough to get a job as a fresher. You need experience. So how much experience do you need, if you ask me? I would say, like, a minimum of 2 years, at least 2 years, because I've seen friends who have 2 years of work experience, and who has a, like, some sort of strong profile, getting a job that can give you visa. So I would say, like, a minimum of 2 years, but ideally I would say, like, 3 to 4 years, because by that time, you would have worked across various projects in the companies, and then you would have gauged your strengths and weakness, and you can work towards that. So ideally 3 4 years, but you can start from, like, once you complete 2 years. The next thing is you should be strong in the tech basics. So it's not related to any language or anything. You have to be strong in the basics, like, you just need to know, like, what is a data structure and what is a database, how a program works, what is heap, what is memory, and these sort of things, like, these are like the building blocks, I would say, the Lego blocks of tech. So you need to be strong in that. And how can we be strong in that? Like, internet is your resource. You can just go there, and then there are plenty of quantity, like, content, quality content, that can guide you on these things. So you have to be strong in basics. And the third most important thing is you need to have some sort of hobby projects that you can showcase to your potential employer. Because if you have to think from a company's perspective, right? So I am a company. I'm going to take someone from a different country. I have never met him or her. uh, I'm going to trust on his abilities. I'm going to offer visa sponsorship to him or her, and then take them to my company, and then give them a job. So the companies are taking a huge risk, if you think from company's perspective. So that's how, like, they want strong candidates. So how can you be a strong candidate? You have to have sort of hobby projects built and preferably uploaded in open source platforms like GitHub. So why do I say open source platforms like GitHub? Because it is the place where you can showcase your coding skills to your potential employer. You can say that, let's say, for example, uh, I built a school management application. So here is the code for that school management application. So this is how I built. These are the architectural decisions that I made. You can show a lot of things to the potential employer using your GitHub profile and using your hobby projects. So if you don't have a hobby projects, it's very tough to get a job abroad that can give you a visa sponsorship. So the next thing is keeping up to date. using things like, you have to read a lot of tech books. You have to follow blogs like Medium, Hashnode, or Dev2, or Stack Overflow, or newsletters. Like, there are plenty of resources, but at least pick one or two from this list and then follow articles on that, because you need to know what's happening in the industry, because tech industry is the one that gets revolutionized every 5 years. So when I started coding, the way I built websites is not the way I'm building websites today. So the time span that you see is like 10 years. So the library that I'm using right now to build website has been invented only like 5 years back, and it is the widely used library across the world right now, which is, if you're interested, it's React. So that's the library. Before, like 6 years or 7 years back, nobody knew about React, but in 2021 every company wants a React developer. So that's how the tech landscape changes. So you have to keep yourself updated uh, to get a job. And then you need to involve yourself in things like conferences and hackathons. So, and thanks to this pandemic, a lot of things are happening online. So you don't need to travel to a different city or different place. You can just, sit in your room. You can attend a virtual conference. You can attend a virtual hackathon, and still, get uh, good things out of it. And then the last thing I would say, the last thing is the resume, because as I mentioned, like once you do all these things in the list, then your resume becomes strong automatically. So you have, hobby projects to show, you have like, blogs, you have read things, and then you have attended conferences, hackathons. So all these things are going to reflect in your resume. It automatically boosts your resume. So if you want to go try for a job abroad, never start with a resume, because that's the last thing to do. You should never start, let's say, let me, sit and work on my resume to make it strong. So it never works that way. You do things outside the world, and then that automatically improves your resume. Right. So let's talk a bit about hobby projects, because I stressed a lot about these hobby projects, because the reason is I got a job because of my hobby projects. So I built an Android app, and I built a Chrome extension, and I actually, they are out in the wild. People are, few people are still using it. That it's not a huge project that like it's not the next Facebook or anything, but I built few things that some people are still using. I'm quite happy about it. But these things helped me land a job abroad. So how can you do a hobby project? So it can be as small as an open source contribution. So when I say open source contributions, like in the last few years, open source movement has picked up across the world, and even big companies like Facebook, Google, they are also interested in open source contributions. They maintain repositories. The React library that I mentioned a few minutes ago, the widely used library right now, it is a completely open source library built by Facebook. So companies are investing in open source contributions. So these companies expect that the potential employee who is coming on board should also be interested to contribute to open source things. So you create a profile in GitHub, preferably, I would say, because that's where most of the companies have their open source contributions. You prepare a GitHub profile, you look out for libraries or applications that are open source, and then that need help, because like our open source contribution run with the help of volunteers. So they need a lot of volunteers to do a lot of things. You don't need to write a full-blown application from scratch. It could be as small as fixing a small bug, fixing a small one-line bug in an open source library. That is also a contribution. You can proudly say that I contributed to React library, I fixed a bug, or you can even update the documentation of that application and then say that I contributed to open source because I updated the documentation. These are like open source contributions the companies value a lot. You should have a profile in GitHub for that, and then create something. That's what companies want you to do, because like when I'd say, like though the profession is engineer, I would say I would see myself very close to an artist. An artist is someone who creates something, right? Who paints or or creates something new. An engineer is also like that. He or she creates an application that is used by other people, that helps them in some way. So you build something today, like you can build and deploy an application completely for free. You don't need to spend any money. There are like platforms like Heroku, Firebase, and a lot of other things that allow you to build and deploy applications and put out in front of the world. So it need not be a huge, as I mentioned, need not be a huge complex application. One of the applications that I built was a Flickr tab loader. So whenever you open a new tab in Chrome, it loads a random image from Flickr. Flickr is like similar to Instagram. I'd say like a forefather of Instagram. I built that application like 7 or 8 years back, but that actually helped me in one of my job interviews. So that could be as simple as an application like that. So you build that application, put it in front of the world. You can say that here is a complete source code for this application. You can see that, and the employers really like that. And then when you put out your code, you can say that these are the best practices that I followed. These are the coding standards I followed. I built using this architecture. The application is scalable like this, and then the application can be tested like this. So all sort of things you can explain it within the repository, within the your project itself, and companies value this a lot. Right. So moving on from hobby projects, updating yourself. So again, as I mentioned, tech landscape is a place where things happen, things change quite quickly. So in this scenario, like how do one updates himself or herself? The first and foremost thing is like follow blogs that are related to your technology. For example, I am a JavaScript engineer, so I write a lot of JavaScript code every day. So I follow blogs that are related to JavaScript in platforms like Medium. There is even Stack Overflow has a blog. I follow that. So these are the two main platforms that I follow. But it's not necessary that you also need to follow that, but you can go and find out what's the best resource for following your technology. And not only following a blog, start writing blog. It could be like as simple as that. You can say that today learned about the data types in this language or whatever. It could be as simple as that. You don't need to tell new things to the world. It could be like blog could be a place where you can record your learnings, because companies value that, because you can say that like I learned these many things and I wrote some few blog articles. Again, creating a blog is free today. You go to a platform like Hashnode or Dev2, you can create your own blog, and then you can write about it. And some platforms like Medium, they even pay you for writing, so you can get some nice pocket money out of it. So yeah, so follow blogs, write blogs, and follow newsletters as well. So there are like lot of online newsletters. For example, in JavaScript, there is a newsletter called JavaScript Weekly. I subscribe to that, and once in a week they send an email to my inbox with the latest updates that are happening in the JavaScript world. So I keep myself updated using that. You don't need to learn everything under the sun. Companies don't expect you to do that, because it's impossible for a human being, right? So you can't learn everything, but it's good to know about these things, that such thing exists, because when a problem comes, you can say that I learned about such solution. I don't know about it, but I think that solution might fit this, and then you can go and read about the solution and fit it, because that's what an engineer does in real life, because he or she doesn't know anything, everything, but they know a few things, and then they know the basics, and then they can produce a solution. And then a lot of people ask me about certifications. Are they valuable? Personally, I would say no, because the companies that I've interviewed so far, they didn't give much importance to certifications. But if you want to do certification, yes, definitely you can do it. Again, they are completely free today in this open source world. There are MOOCs like Coursera, MIT Online, where you get good quality content from top class universities completely free of cost. And then like they ask you some money to get your certificate. But if you are after knowledge, then there is no need for a certificate. You can just complete that course. And then completing the course gives you some sort of discipline. And then it gives you some structural learning as well. And for that reason, yeah, definitely you can, if you want, you can definitely go for some certifications in these platforms, or you can go even AWS or Azure certifications, or certifications in Udemy or platforms like Udacity. Again, personally, they are not mandatory, but if you want to learn about something and in a structured way, and if you want some discipline to learn with some sort of deadlines and things, yes, definitely go for some certifications. It might help you getting a job abroad. And then let's come to the applying part. Right. So how to apply to these roles? Companies In Europe specifically, like they expect a cover letter for every job that they post. Cover letter is the thing. It shouldn't reflect what's said in the resume. It should reflect what the value that you can provide to the company. So each cover letter should be specific to that job. You cannot have a generic cover letter that says, hey, I am this, I was born here, I studied here, I did my job here. No, these details should not be in the cover letter. They are already in the resume. You have to offer something unique in the cover letter that is specific to that role that you're going to apply, because companies like that. And then resume, it should be ideally 1 page. 2 pages is also fine, but yeah, try to stick to 1 page. And then remove unnecessary items in the resume. Objective, no, nobody reads an objective today. Hobbies, no, nobody needs to know that you have a reading hobby, or you play cricket in weekends. No. And then personal details, like companies, especially in the Western world, they are very sensitive about your personal details, like date of birth, marital status, addresses and things. They are waste of space in the resume. Remove that. Instead of these things, you write about the projects that you have worked so far. What are the hobby projects that you have? What are the certifications that you get? What are the blog articles that you have written, and things like that. So these are the things the companies expect from your resume. And then before applying to any role, know about the company. It's not like you should not do a fire and forget. Okay, I'll open a portal and like there are 100 jobs. I'll click apply. No, that's not the way to get a job abroad. You have to know about that company using various places like Glassdoor, LinkedIn, or a company blog, or the company would have conducted events like conferences or hackathon. You go to that blog articles, read about that company, and then see how you fit into that company. Never send out a lot of applications blindly waiting for an expectation. It never works like that way when you apply for a job abroad. And prepare to face rejection. As I mentioned earlier, getting a tech job in abroad is tough, but it is doable. But as I mentioned, this is my personal ratio, 1:10 is the success rate. So if I apply for 100 companies, 90 companies rejected me, and then the 10 companies, they didn't offer me immediately. The 10 companies said, okay, this resume sort of looks like interesting to us. Let's proceed to the next round. And of the 10 companies that I interviewed, I was able to crack 1 or 2 in the initial days. But as I mentioned, these failures really help you. They can tell you what are your strengths and weakness, and then you can play by that. And the most important thing is to be honest in the job applications. Never lie anything in the resume. Don't put a technology that you have not worked on. It's okay that if the technology is old, but as long as like you are good at what you're doing, that should be enough. So yeah, prepare to face a lot of rejections, but over a period of time, you will see the rejection rate it will be getting better. Right. So the next question is like, what are the technologies that offer job opportunities with visa support? Again, this is, I would say, like these are the top technologies, but again, this is not the complete list. JavaScript is quite high in demand across Europe right now. If you're a JavaScript engineer with a 2 or 3 years experience, and if you have a good profile, as I mentioned before in the past few slides, if you have qualities like that, yes, definitely you can get a job in Europe right now. And then JavaScript and related technologies like React, Angular, Vue, TypeScript, and a lot of things like that. And then Python, Java, C#, Golang, Scala, and then in app development, you can Android using Kotlin, or iOS development using Swift. So these are the technologies that offer quite good job opportunities across the globe, particularly in Europe. But again, this is not the complete list. As I mentioned, these are a good starting point. You can concentrate on one of these technologies if you are going to start now. And how do you know about these things? It's open and free. You go to Stack Overflow survey every year. Stack Overflow, the biggest site that helps all the developers out there, conducts a survey across the globe, and they rank a lot of things. They rank, like what is a place or city that has a lot of tech jobs. What are the technologies that offer a lot of tech jobs? What are the technologies that offer a good pay and things like that? So that is again in the Stack Overflow slide. You can go there and then you can see like, how the job market is. That is a very good snapshot for the job market across the globe. So these are the technologies that you can concentrate in. And finally, like where you apply. So this is the, these are like, the sites that I've used personally in the past, but I have not used portals in the last 3-4 years because like, I'm in my job, in my current job for last close to 3 years now. So there might be new portals out there. Again, you can Google, but these are like, still active portals that are having jobs that provide you visa sponsorships. So Stack Overflow is a very good place. Stack Overflow jobs. I personally know like, a couple of people who got placed in Vienna in Austria by applying through Stack Overflow jobs portal. And then LinkedIn, again, resume, like LinkedIn is a mirror of your resume. So you have to have a very strong profile and your presence in LinkedIn. And then LinkedIn jobs is a portal, place you'd have known. Go there and search for jobs. And there are sites like hire.com and vettery.com. They offer quite good, job opportunities abroad. And honeypot.io for jobs in Europe, landing.jobs again for Europe, and Angel List jobs that is across the globe. That also has like quite good list of companies that can sponsor you visa, especially startups. If you're interested in startups, yeah, Angel List is the place that you need to go. And sites like relocate.me.eu and Take Me Abroad. Again, this is just a tip of the iceberg. If you jump in, you can see a lot of portals. Again, you need to apply to a lot of companies if you are also in that 1:10 ratio. But again, if you are applying, don't do it blindly. Just don't click apply. It never works. Cater or change your resume, change your cover letter according to that. Read about that company and apply to that companies only you think you both will be a fit, because employment is a thing that is not never works in a single way. It's not a one-way path. Both the employee and the employer has to match. The interest needs to match. So always do that. So these are the portals that you can apply. So if you can follow all these things, yeah, definitely you get a very good chance to land a job abroad. So that is all that I have with me today, and we can discuss about things. If you have any questions, or if you want to discuss something, you can do now. Thank you.
Siva, thanks a lot for that wonderful overview of this topic. We have a few questions from the Zoom chat.
Yeah.
So one of the key thing here is a lot of scamsters are around in this current hold on, let me just. So can you take that question? Like, there are various visa scams that are around. So how to identify that and which avenue you used? So can you please talk about that?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So the first thing is, go for portals that are established. As I mentioned, Stack Overflow, LinkedIn, hire.com. So these are the portals that are established. So they check the employers, and sites like Angel List and things. They check their employers. So if you are finding a job that is too good to be true, then yeah, definitely it's not. And in the portal, as I mentioned, the portal matters. And the next thing is, companies will never ask you money. So that is the rule that you have to follow. If the company asks you money for paying something, no, simply reject that company. Because even as I mentioned, even for an interview, a company helped me getting sponsored tickets and stay for completely free of charge for me, just for an interview. If you see, companies do that. They don't ask you to pay any money upfront. So that is the biggest red flag that I would say. If the company asks you money to do anything, then it's not a genuine company. Maybe some companies that they do something like for some reasons they don't have forex cash or something. They said you apply visa in your own country with this letter, and then once you come to the job, we will reimburse you. So maybe you can trust at least that sort of things. But if they ask you to deposit money in a separate account or send them money, no. That's how you can identify the scam. And the next thing is, like, go to the site of that company. Again, like, any company can create a site now, but even you can trust, can see, like, few things that are missing. Like, the company should have a valid address, and Glassdoor is another important place. So if it is a real company, then it will definitely have a Glassdoor account, and then Glassdoor is a place where employees review their company. So you can see that even for a startup, you can see at least 1 or 2 reviews in Glassdoor. So you can go there, and then you can see if there are reviews for that company, and then how good are the reviews. So using these, filters, you can definitely see whether the company is a valid company or not.
Thank you, Siva. And another question is there any kind of an exam that a student or the employer has to clear to go for countries? Like, I know for Canada we have TOEFL or IELTS or something they have to clear, right? So likewise, is there anything for UK and European countries?
No. So in UK and Europe, no. So if you have completed an engineering degree, and preferably in English medium, then that should be enough. Because I have never written an exam to get a job in Germany or UK. So as long as I completed my engineering degree, and then I have some years of experience, that should be enough. Because, like, the visa rules here in Europe, in all the countries in Europe, they don't expect you to write any exams.
Okay, that's good to know. And
Yeah.
So what are the benefits of, like, applying through this company, whereas, like, there are companies who would send you, like the employer would send you to other countries, right? So what is the benefit of, like, applying? So can we do that, like, while working for a company, and then apply parallelly for other countries?
Yeah, sure. So that's a very good question. So as I mentioned earlier, like, my wife got an opportunity through her employer in India. So they deputed her to the UK initially. So the biggest drawback in that is it depends on the projects. Even the company cannot assure you a term. They say that, I'm going to put you abroad for 1 year. They say that, but 6 months down the line, the project is not working out, or things like that. They say that, this is not working out, so you come back. So you can never plan your life. So that was the biggest drawback. You'll be always in a constant fear, thinking that, when might they send me back. So that is the biggest drawback if you go via an employer here. But whereas if you get your own visa, you don't have that fear, because though the visa is still tied to the employer, if you lose the job, the worst case scenario is, like, even if you lose the job in that visa, all the job visa categories, they offer you, there is a way to get another job within the country. Like, you can switch employer. So most of the visas, they offer you employer switching facilities. So when you go via company, that is not possible. So you are tied to the employer. You can never change a job. However bad the job becomes, you stick to that. And then there is quite a lot of uncertainty on that. And then on top of it, some companies, they don't offer you a permanent settlement status if you come via that visa category. So for example, in the UK, when my wife came, like, the maximum that she can work here is like for 5 years. After 5 years, she has to go back to India. So that is the rule for that specific visa. But whereas in the visa that I am in, I don't need to go back after 5 years. I can apply for a settlement status. So I would say, like, you get certainty. You get to choose the kind of type of employer that you want. You can switch jobs. And the third thing is, like, you get some good things like settlement status and other, and even passport.
Yeah, that's good to know. So with the current situation, like the UK, we have this pandemic, and new strains of pandemic is, like, the virus is also, like, spreading. So what is the current climate there? Like, is the UK accepting people from other countries, or is
right
it?
Right now in the UK, yeah, it is a bit volatile right now because of the pandemic. But I think it is coming back to a normal state. And again, like, economists here, expect that the economy to bounce back, because, like, the growth is in the negative for the last 1 year and a half now. So it will ultimately bounce back, which means there should be a lot of opportunities once this pandemic is over, because the end is in sight. we have vaccines now, and all the European countries have started vaccinating people. So this means the economy should open up, and then that should give you a lot of job opportunities. But right now it's a bit volatile. And the next thing with the UK is like, because of, you would have known about Brexit. So UK came out of the European Union. So which means earlier how it was, the case was anybody from the European Union, which is like, anybody from Spain, France, Portugal, or the, group of 27 EU countries, they can come to the UK and work. There is no need for visa or anything. So that means companies here were able to fill tech positions using people from EU. But right now, because of Brexit, that is not possible. So a candidate from EU is equal to a candidate from India right now. So which means whoever has the right set of skills, the company will hire them. There is no advantage to people from EU. So this means a lot of people from EU are not interested to come to the UK right now, because they have to fight with people from other from other parts of the world. And there are better opportunities in the EU in the other countries where they don't need a visa. Like people from Germany can still work in Spain without a visa. People from Germany can still work in Netherlands without a visa. So they will look for that opportunities rather than coming to the UK right now. So because of this, there are already a lot of job opportunities that are open, and companies are really struggling to fill the position. To give you an example, like, we are searching for an automation tester for the last 9 months, and we still couldn't find one. The company is able to sponsor visa, but they are, as I mentioned, they expect some experienced persons. We are still unable to find the right person because of Brexit. So, which means this is an opportunity for people like us. So, if we try, if we build our resume and skills, we can definitely come into this.
Definitely, like this would be a good opportunity for our students to know, and they can, of course, get some guidance from you. So, participants, others have any questions for Siva?
Well, thank you, Shiva. We have a question here. So, I myself, I'm sitting in Italy today, and I know how difficult it has been, or what the career progression could have been different in India and in abroad from India. So, what are your suggestions, or what are the key takeaways that an Indian working abroad should take back to India when they return to their homeland?
Right. So, thank you for asking this question. Even I have plans to return to India in few years time. So that is my plan right now. So the good things that you can take away from here is the sort of working culture. I like the working culture here a lot, because it's like, you come to your job at 9, you can do your job till 5, and then after 5 the time is yours. So while I was working in India, I don't remember getting a time for myself at 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. Like, I usually come home at 9 p.m. and then I'll have my dinner, and then I sleep, and then the next day I'll start my work. So that was the case. The work-life balance is quite good here. So I would definitely want to replicate that in India. And the next thing is the sort of what politics that they say, like, like politics is there in obviously in any company, but working here, what I felt is like, the buck stops with you. Like, if you are good at your job, that's it. Nobody's going to ask you any question or anything. If you're bad, then they will ask you questions. But as long as you do your job, yeah, then you are fine. But whereas while I was working in India, like, it was not always the case. Like, even though I work, I still have to please my manager, and then I still have to please my manager's managers. And then the hierarchy is like quite huge. But here, like, they have like some sort of flat hierarchy that you don't get manager and a manager and manager above the level. Like, there are like, like you have, obviously, you have managers, but the hierarchy is like sort of flat. So you don't need to please always everyone. You just do your job, and then that is that. So work-life balance is the one thing that I would definitely want to take away from here to there. And then I would say, like, work ethics, I would say, like, that is also quite good here. And the third thing is, like, personal life. That is very, very missing in India. I still cover that in the first point, work-life balance. To give an example, while I was working in Germany, for the first time I had to go to a doctor because I was ill. So I messaged, I emailed my manager saying that, I am, having some stomach pains, or I'm going to doctor, so I'll not be available in the office. And then he responded saying that, it is up to you. Like, that is all these, I don't know how you worked so far, But these things are your personal. Like, you don't need to tell me that you're going to a doctor. You don't need to tell me that you have a stomach pain. All you need to do is, like, you just need to tell me that, you are sick. And then the same goes for leave. You don't need to tell me that, I'm going to my cousin's marriage, so I need to leave. No, it's your personal. Like, you just tell me that, the company is giving you 25 leaves per year. It's up to you to use that in any way you want. All you need to do is you just inform me that, I'll not be available in the office the next 3 days. So they give a lot of personal space here, which I missed very much that in India, because like, the managers would want to know that, why you are going and where you are going. And because they want to know that, if you're reachable, if there is an issue or like that. But here it's not the case. So these things I would obviously want to take away from here back home.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Siva. That's very clear. Thank you.
Siva, do you want to give some few liners about the Niral Kalam event that is going to happen in GCT?
Yeah, sure. So Niral Kalam 21 is an online hackathon focusing on giving solutions for Tamil language. So we are very proud that Tamil as a language has a quite vast history. It has like 2,000, 3,000 years history. But it is not only the history, but it is also the continuity that matters, because Tamil is being spoken for the last 3,000 years. We started writing in stones, palm leaves, papers, and print. And right now, everything is digitized. Tamil survived all these things. So if we want to pass the baton to the next generation, just like how our previous generation passed the baton to us via printed books or things, we need to pass the baton to the next generation, and providing tech solutions in Tamil is the best way, because this is the space where a lot of innovation is lacking, I would say, because like not many people are interested to develop solutions that are specific to Tamil. Like 10 years before, it will be very difficult to type Tamil in computer and mobile, but right now it is a bit easier. But there are still long ways to go. Like, you have machine learning things. How would it be like, if a Google Assistant or Alexa can listen to Tamil and can respond in Tamil, how good it be? Like, these are the things that I want to see see happening in a Tamil space, because that is the future, artificial intelligence, new technologies, applications, and these are the things are the future for any language. If you want to, save your culture, like, it all depends on like how you save your language. Because that has all the memories of your entire culture that spans across million years, thousands of years. So for this, GCT, Tamil Mandram and Fine Arts Club has joined hands with INFIT, that is an international organization for promoting Tamil technology. They have been there for like close to 30 years, I guess. I myself, know some of them personally from there. There are pioneers there who invented Tamil fonts. There are pioneers in that organization who invented Tamil typing softwares in that organization. So they both joined hands together to conduct this online Tamil hackathon focused on Tamil solutions. If you want, you can register as a team of 4 members. 1 professional per team is allowed. And you can register using the site tmfa-gct.com. The registration is open and free to everyone, and there are 30K worth prizes. So I would definitely request everyone to participate in that. Again, connecting my topic and Niral Kalam, you would have if you followed the topic, you would have seen that one of the points that I mentioned is to make your resume stand out or build your skills, you need to attend things like conferences and hackathons. So this is one such golden opportunity. You can take part in this hackathon and then give a solution to some of the problems that we face in the Tamil tech space. So I encourage everyone to do that.
Thank you, Siva. Thank you. So all the best for the GCT Manavar Mandram and for the event. I think the event is supposed to happen on 5, 6, 7 of March, and the registration closes on February 25. So we'll put all the information. I think we have been branding that in all the social media channels. So thanks, Siva, for that information. And we have a post-discussion talk after this meeting. So, so we'll stay connected.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you, everyone.